YouTube, what up? Welcome back to channel Adrian TV, and y'all know me as Adrian. But before we get into today's video, y'all know what y'all need to do. Subscribe to the channel, like and comment on the videos. Also follow me on Rumble where I post. And if you see anything you want me to react to, just hit me up on one of my social media platforms. They'll be pinned in the description. Y'all, and I wanted to start the new series because I have a lot of stories. So in today's story time about seeing female nature in live, in person, it's a real quick, brief story, but I'll try to make it as short as possible so you could get what I mean and the whole point of the story. And it's a story from where men and women can both learn. Because you remember in my previous short I did about how I want to say women that are 25 or 26 range and below, they do now understand if their mom married the nice guy simp. In other words, the guy that they didn't really want, but that was their last option because their options dried up. Younger women now, I feel, understand and see that, but the men may not, unfortunately. Now, to make a long story short, I know this one girl and she's pretty cool, and she found about my YouTube from another girl. And she started watching my YouTube and asking me questions about masculinity and certain things, or Adrian, what would you do here? Or, you know, if this happened, what would you do? And I seen your video, well, how does that align with, in other words, ask me questions about what would a man do in certain situations. Now, I didn't know she was married, so I didn't know she was asking questions about her husband. In other words, her husband would do choices that were more on the feminine and weak end, on the weak side of things. And that's why she was asking those questions and started watching my videos. And she is actually a supporter. So to make a long story short, I ran into her and her homegirl in Walmart because I had to get something. I was just, you know, in a stringer because I just left the gym. She said, hey, and we talked real quick. And then her homegirl said, hey, you should tell your husband and introduce him so you could get your husband to work out, because the wife was complaining about her husband not working out. And I kid you not, she said this verbatim, oh, nah, he's way too weak for Adrian. And I'm like, okay, what you mean by that? Weak as like strength wise, or weak like soft and simp like? She said weak like soft and simp like. I was like, huh? I was like, now in my head, I was saying huh in my head. I didn't say huh out loud. I'm like, you're gonna belittle your husband in front of a complete stranger you barely know, and you said from death till death do us part? To me, that's just crazy. But it makes sense because what I've talked about in my videos and how women are repulsed by weaker, softer men. Now, they may let them marry them and have a child with them, but deep down inside, like I've always said, deep down inside, that problem will rear its ugly head somewhere down the line. And I was just thinking to myself, and I asked her, I was like joking around, I was like, what will make you say that? And then she went into the questions, and you know, now you're seeing to where the pieces of the puzzle fit. And the sad thing about this is they have a son, and I'm pretty sure the guy doesn't even know that she said this to me. Now think about it, men or women, if this was you, how would you feel if your wife said this about you to a complete stranger? In other words, making fun of him or belittling him to a complete stranger. Now, I'm not a complete stranger, but compared to her husband, you could say that. That's sad, right? And then on top of that, they have a son. Now, how could that son ever look up to that dad if the woman is out there talking like this about him? And this is where I stress to all men, you need to find out how your girl and her homegirls really view you, because a lot of times that's hidden in female group chats. But the things my homegirls have let me see, what they said about their boyfriends or husbands, in other words, a lot of them understand that they are marrying a beta male provider, which is sad. And you may be saying, well, Adrian, you said where men and women can learn from this. Why did you say women? Remember, I believe women who are 26 and below, they understand if their mom married the simp, because of how much of this information is out there now for the masses. Younger women are starting to put the pieces together. So men and women, that's my story of female nature. See, number one. And I will do more stories of this. I have so many stories, and going back over my whole entire life, it was right in front of my face. But now that I'm older and wiser and understand what this is, I can tell y'all about it. And y'all, what do you think about this story? Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And what is it they say? Stay woke.